Speaking of hot takes and bad takes and good takes, Drew, we all have our opinions. We all have our thoughts about the Memphis Grizzlies and who we think is the best player on that team. So you and I, during the Portland game on Monday night, had a little disagreement, I guess, in opinion on Twitter as to who we think is the best player on the court for the Memphis Grizzlies. And so I've been consistent this year in saying that I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best player on whatever court he steps on. You think somebody else might be the best player on the Grizzlies. I don't know that either one of us are wrong. I just think we both have some differing opinions on who we think it is. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, so your tweet says Jaren continues to be the best player on whatever court he steps on. If he was playing only 5 more minutes per game, he'd be in the MVP conversation. To which I responded, he's not the best player on his team tonight. I assume you thought I was talking about Ja.
Oh, boy.
Actually talking about Jake LaRavia.
Yeah, someone told me in my gut that was coming. I'm like, this fool finna say he's the only one that's planted his flag on Jake LaRavia as a great NBA player, and he's living.
I never said great. I never said great. You put these words in my mouth.
Whatever.
But, no. I mean, let's be real. Jaren is great, and we will not have this conversation turn into me hating on Jaren Jackson. It just will not happen. I think he is dominant. I think he is by far he is what we always hoped he would be. And the way he can get to his shot, he and Ja are two of the best players at getting to their shot and getting a high percentage bucket whenever they can, whenever
Absolutely.
they want. And so I will not besmirch Jaren Jackson Jr. today. Mm-hmm. However, Ja Morant is just a generational talent. And my reason for saying this is, one, he's an all-star game starter. He is absolutely dominant. But he also
Rookie of the year, most improved.
Rookie of the year. I mean, the accolades go on forever. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the vast majority here. And so by all means, milk this controversy if you want to make it for all the views you can get. But where it kind of settles in for me is that if Jaren Jackson Jr. was hurt last year and Ja Morant played with 33 different players, that team would have a much better record because Ja is the type of player that the rising tide lifts all boats. He makes everybody better. I mean, he made Zaire Williams look like a competent basketball player. And what happened is that we realized Zaire Williams was a pumpkin because Ja wasn't playing beside him at all times.
Yeah.
And he does the same thing with everybody around him. He just lifts all boats. He's an absolute superstar, the biggest superstar that the city of Memphis has ever seen. Mm-hmm. And he is going away the best player on this team and the most important player on this team.
Sure. I'll concede a lot of that. Yeah, I'll concede a lot of that. That's for sure. I think that Ja is the most dynamic player that we have. I think Ja is the best offensive player that we have. I think that he, like you said, the way he facilitates, the way he can get to the rim, the way he sees the floor, the way he moves the basketball and pushes the pace. I've never seen somebody that can run up and down the floor as quickly as he can. Offensively, Ja is by far our best player. Yeah. But when I'm talking about, you take the game as a whole, both ends of the floor, Jaren Jackson Jr. is not only dynamic on offense because he's a matchup nightmare. You think about, he can play 3, 4, or 5 realistically. Typically, he's a 4 or 5. But at 3, he's bigger than any small forward that he's playing. At 4, he's more athletic than any guy he's playing, and even more so at the 5. The only people that really can hold Jaren consistently are AD, and he still gives AD buckets. Wemby, just because he's just massive.
He's just freakish.
He's freakishly big. And then Giannis, because he is a generational defender. Other than that, like, he can bring Kat and Joel Embiid. He cooks Gobert. He cooks Jokic. Like, he's bigger than Bam, so he bodies Bam whenever we play Miami. He is consistently great on offense. But he's also doing things on the defensive end that are generational and historic. Last Monday night's game against Portland, he became the first player in NBA history to have 5 straight games with a steal, multiple blocks, and multiple made threes. He is a matchup nightmare on either end of the floor. He truly is an NBA unicorn because if you watch him, he's 6'10" and about 260.
He's 7 foot.
Yeah, he's 7 foot now for sure. We'll say that he's always been listed 6'10", 6'11". We'll call it 7 foot. He said he weighs 260 on the Chris Vernon show coming into the season. I believe that because he has beefed up these last couple of years. But like watching, you talk about somebody can get their bucket, man. If he posts somebody up, that little turnaround hook, it's money.
Yeah.
It feeds families. The trailing three, now his three shot is one of the ugliest I've ever seen, just the way he kind of pushes it from like his chin, but it somehow goes in. That trailing three on fast breaks is unbelievable. And then when he has an anchor like a Steven Adams, soon to be Zach Edey when he's fully healthy, like nobody is safe from his help side defense. And so I'll concede that Josh's probably the most dynamic, athletic, and best offensive player we have. Jaren's not far behind him there. But what makes me think that Jaren's the best player on our team is what he does on both ends of the floor as a former defensive player of the year, trending towards a first team all defensive, not another DPOY this year. And I stand by what I said. He's currently 6th in points per 36 minutes. And he's playing the least amount of actual minutes of that entire list by about 3 or 4 minutes. So if he was getting, 34, 35, 36 minutes a night like LeBron and Booker and SGA are on that list, he would not only would be number one, but he would be right in the thick of the MVP conversation.
I don't think there's any doubt about that at all. And especially if you're doing it without John Morant.
Yeah.
But the problem is that given in this offense, I think is a little bit of the problem too, because as I said, I think I said it on the Daily Grind on Monday, but it just seems like it's leveling the play. It's giving stats to everybody. It's a communist offense.
Yeah,
is the way I put it. It's this communist offense gets everybody stats. It gives everybody, it smooths out the points per game, and which is a great thing in theory, but it doesn't allow folks like Jaren Jackson Jr. to stand out in points. Now, my biggest beef with Jaren, and it goes the same way with Ja sometimes, except is they kind of lose that aggression offensively.
Sure.
They kind of go through spells where they kind of don't look for their shot. Now, Ja makes up for that because he's an assist machine. Like he's going to get somebody a bucket if he's not getting a bucket. Jaren doesn't at times, but there's no doubt in my mind. Like when you're looking for the next 5 years, you can't sell me on a better point guard big man combination in the league.
Absolutely.
Like,
this is a great conversation to have and a great problem to have where you're literally got two different size and style players as your best player whenever they're on the floor.